just another report from yesterday's carnage. Yesterday's debacle of a joint practice, which we're putting stock into because the head coach himself said it was a measuring stick. And so the Patriots lined up the measuring stick against a good NFL team, and it was a disaster. And I just want to sort of go back over all the reports, Mazz, just to drive home.
Of course.
How bad it was?
Yes.
And you would say then, well, why? Why are you doing that, Felger? Are you doing that for content? Are you
You're
doing
trolling.
that for ratings?
Yeah.
I'm gaslighting, as the kids would say.
Why focus on the negative, you loser?
Okay. I'm doing it, and we're doing it, because it's not okay. It's not okay. It's not okay to have one horrible bottom-out year followed by another for a team like this. In some places, it might be more acceptable. In some places. A smaller market, a place where people really don't care, so you can afford to take a couple of years off. What's the diff? They're going to the beach anyway. Or again, your not proceeds, your resources are such that you kind of have to bottom out, or that's just most cost-effective way for you to do it. But for a place like this, a franchise like this, in a city like this that gives a crap, it's not okay. It's not okay to be this bad. So I kind of think they deserve to get hammered for it. And so that's why I'm doing it.
So I have a question for you.
Yep.
If they're worse this year than last, does last year qualify as bottoming out?
I would suppose not, but I mean it is. When you have a top 3 pick, that's like that's it. I mean that's when you're a franchise like this in a city like this. That's all I'm willing to give you, and I don't want to give him that.
When you get 2 years of 4 wins, 3 wins, you're trash. You're now trash. You have a track record. It's been established. 2 years of terrible records, picking in the top 5, you're trash.
It's not okay.
It's not.
It's not even close to okay. Not even remotely close.
Given the brand equity they built up.
You can't be this bad here. You can't.
The brand equity they've built over the last 20 years, how they carry themselves, what the expectations are of the fan base. Us. You can have 1 year of it, but if you got money, and the money that they had, you got to spend it, and you got to put it into better resources. You got to invest in your offensive line, all of this. Like, it's negligent what they've done here.
And also, the market, you just people care too much here. They've invested too much here.
Yeah, if this was Scottsdale, you'd just say, well, whatever.
Orlando, whatever. So it's just not okay. And you say you give them a year. Like, I grudgingly do that. I prefer a model like the Steelers or the Packers or a team that's even the Bruins, a team that's good every year. Like, I just don't believe in bottoming out. But if it happens, it happens. Okay, so now you've done it, and there's 6 quarterbacks sitting there, and you have all the money in the world, and you're going to come out of it and be just as bad, if not worse, than the year before? That's a joke. They deserve to get hammered for it.
So you're not going to get any argument from me. And just before you even begin and delve into the particulars of what you're talking about, I've had 24 hours to think about this. I've been able to digest much of what you're about to present.
Yeah.
And if it's possible, yesterday I told you I think there's a chance they could be historically bad, that they could tie or set the franchise record for losses in a season, which is currently 15. I have not changed my mind. I feel maybe even worse than I did yesterday after going through. I think they could be freaking horrid, like threatening the worst team in Patriots history. Horrid.
Rod Russ, 91, 1-15.
Yep, something like that. I think they could be something close to that. And again, Rod Russ was not equipped to be a head coach. Gerard Mayo may not be. He inherited a bad team that got worse. I am very, very worried after yesterday.
And what scares me on top of it, again, before we get into just reliving what they put on the field yesterday, is what's at the helm. I mean, it's one thing to, in 1993, 94, 93, to start 1-11 with a rookie quarterback in Drew Bledsoe coming off, what was just a horrible couple of years, and to still be 1-11 with Bill Parcells sitting up there, which is what you were. That's what you were heading into December of 1993 You were 1-11 coming off the Dick McPherson years, whatever your record was, worst record in the league. 1-15 wasn't that far in the rearview mirror. And you got Bill Parcells again. Got Parcells sitting up there. What do you have sitting up there right now? And nothing.
Who knows?
Okay, who knows? So that even casts a bigger pall for me. But be that as it may, how bad were they? That was Curran and Perry. Play it again, Jimmy. Just how bad was it, Curran? Go ahead. Good news, bad news.
Phil, should I give him the good news or the bad news first?
And give him the bad news first.
Abhorrent performance by the offense. Unwatchable, sloppy.
Okay, there you go. Thank you. You remember Bedard? Bedard was almost apocalyptic in his commentary when he came in here after watching that practice. Just give me number one, Jimmy.
You ever been driving and you see this accident happen in front of you and you just barely miss it, and you're like, you're sort
close.
of reconsidering everything in your life, like what has happened? You get like a 10,000-yard stare. That's kind of where I am. It was like traumatic. The offense was an absolute train wreck today. I had a feeling that it was going to go this way. I didn't think it was going to be that bad. And if this doesn't send the coaching staff and the front office back asking serious questions like, what the hell are we going to do? The Patriots are in real trouble this season.
Bedard said it was traumatic.
Yep.
He sounds like a shell-shocked war veteran.
He was shell-shocked.
Yeah.
He's traumatized. I'll just read you some of the commentary. Mass Live, Mark Daniels. Eagles defense tortures Drake May. Offensive line. Daniels writes, what transpired was a wake-up call for the team's top two offensive groupings. In his last 9 dropbacks, Drake May was sacked 6 times to end Tuesday's practice. That included a dreadful 2-minute drill where the rookies unit allowed 3 sacks on 4 dropbacks. The Athletics' Chad Graff. Headline, Patriots offense can't do much of anything as receiver O-line troubles continue. Graff pointed out, as a few others did, that he thought that the receiving issues were as bad as the offensive line issues. And maybe people aren't putting enough stock into that. Graff wrote that Gerard Mayo stood next to offensive coordinator Alex Van Pelt at midfield, whistles around both of their necks, trying to comprehend how the Patriots offense had just been so thoroughly dominated. Mayo wanted to bring in another team for a joint practice, which they did with the Philadelphia Eagles on Tuesday. He called it a measuring stick. But what Tuesday's session revealed was what has become the unfortunate reality for the Patriots with around 3 weeks remaining until their season opener. That the team's offense, at least right now, is really, really bad. Ben Volen, headline, if this joint practice had been a game, it would have been a disaster for the Patriots. He says there may have been some positive plays, but if Tuesday's practice had been a game, we'd be talking about what a disaster the day was. Not long after Mayo praised his players for cleaning up a lot of the penalties and pre-snap errors over the course of training camp, they regressed significantly and did that over and over again. Pre-snap penalties, mistakes. Phil Perry wrote, it would be hard to put a buff and shine on how the Patriots offense performed in Tuesday's joint practice with the Eagles. They had more sacks allowed, 15, than passes completed, 14. With Jacoby Brissett and Drake May behind center. They averaged 1 penalty for every 10 offensive reps, 7 on 70 plays.
It was unbelievable.
More sacks and completions, 1 penalty every 10 reps. Volen, did I do that again? Yeah. Here's a couple more from media guys who either in our chains or just private texts. I don't know if these guys said this on the air or wrote it, so I'm just going to say generic media guy. I was at the joint practice today, writes one. The Patriots offense is basic, behind, and disorganized. It was not encouraging. It was discouraging. They have a long way to go. This AVP hire could be an absolute disaster. Although his offensive line is so bad it's tough to gauge, which is kind of the same thing that happened to Bill O'Brien last year. The O-line was so bad that you're just calling plays you can run and for survival. Forget creativity.
Or yards.
Another media guy said, this is about much more than the offensive line. Okay, here's another guy that says, don't overlook the receiving core. This is about much more than the offensive line, he said. Their receivers don't get open quickly, and the quarterbacks have not been good either. Pop Douglas is the only one who gets open fast, and everything he does within 5 yards of the line. Honestly, writes this guy, this looks just as bad as the last 2 years. You want any more? How about more spoken commentary? Oh, Phil Perry spoke about a potpourri of suck. How about Curran Perry number 3, please?
This was a potpourri. This was a little bit of everything when it comes to the stinky version of the potpourri. I would say you had multiple false starts, so let's start there. Is that because offensive linemen feel as though if they don't get a little bit of an early jump that they don't have a chance against somebody on this Eagles defensive line? It's hard for us to get inside their heads. But you had multiple false starts. You had multiple holds. You had a face mask on a running back at one point and pass protection that still led to a blown-up play. You had an offensive pass interference on a receiver that probably might not go down in the book somewhere where they're tracking this, somewhere in the walls of One Patriot Place, because there was a hold on the play. And the pass rusher who actually got held actually got through for a sack anyway.
That's the one I love.
They had another guy who...
Just stop. So there was one play where their receiver committed offensive pass interference, which they may not log because they had a holding at the line during which the guy still got through for the sack.
The guy who held couldn't hold him long enough.
He couldn't even hold. They can't even hold well enough.
Correct.
They can't even hold.
Yes.
Even when they're holding, they're not protecting.
So they committed 2 penalties on the play.
And a sack.
And they were both declined.
And a sack. The potpourri of suck. Continue, Jimmy. Go ahead. If you don't mind, Jimmy, pick it up from there, please.
On a receiver that probably might not go down in the book somewhere where they're tracking this, somewhere in the walls of One Patriot Place, because there was a hold on the play. And the pass rusher who actually got held actually got through for a sack anyway. So
they had another guy who just walked right through. Wasn't a penalty, but just we saw this 2 years ago with the Matt Patricia-led offense where guy just willed himself invisible at the line of scrimmage and walked into the backfield.
Right between the center and the guard and the A gap there, and it looked like Kevin Harris should have seen him and said, well, if that guy drops out, then I'm okay. But if he rushes, I got to block him. Or one of those guys, he must have thought the center or the guard had him. Neither did. Linebacker walks right through, puts his hand on Drake May's shoulder pad as if to say, is this what you guys consider a real pass protection plan here? Because it's not working for you.
Is this a trick? That one, Bedard kind of described that one too. Simple middle linebacker, inside linebacker walks up into the A gap, walks up right next to the center. Pretty much obviously coming. Where everyone sees him. No one blocks him. Harris doesn't move. The guard and center let him walk. Right, he walks through and taps May on the shoulder and says,
down.
Are you guys serious? Is basically what that play described.
Yeah, it's like, tag the quarterback. Down.
It's there's no excuse being this bad 2 straight years.
No,
it's not okay.
The only thing I would disagree with in some of that stuff you read is that this might actually be worse. And again, I didn't see it. Okay, so I'm not telling you these guys are down there like you should take their point of view and rating accordingly with other seasons. But I'm telling you, after all that has gone on, for them to be this bad, this early in camp with an inexperienced coach, inexperienced offensive coordinator, inexperienced staff, they have younger players, no quarterback. I think it could be historically bad.
Your thoughts on them bottoming out 2 straight years?
Can I give you one quick thing?
That last year may not have been the bottom out. Your thoughts on that at 617-779-0985. Yes, Mazz, give it to me.
When Phil Perry says potpourri, you know the product called poopery? Have you heard of that?
Oh, yeah.
I haven't.
Oh, yeah. No,
I haven't.
It's the spray you use in the bathroom so that before you go, so that after you flush and go, the bathroom doesn't smell as bad. It's called poopery, Phil. That's what it's called. Poopery, and that is what the Patriots are using right now.
I thought that's what potpourri was for, just generically.
Generically.
To scent up the bathroom.
No, to scent up any room, you can use potpourri for it. Poopery is a spray that is exactly for the bathroom.
If you like that clip, check out more videos from Felger and Mazz here. For more Patriots analysis and opinion, hit this playlist. And for all the latest from the Sports Hub, download the app at 985thesportshub.com.